All right.
Well, welcome back to Israel.
Right.
As you noted in your speech, it's your fourth time here heading a delegation, and I wonder what keeps you coming back, what motivates your support of, and dare I say, love for Israel?
I think it is that love, but also there's a little, I guess, desire on our part to continue to work with one of the most successful nations in the world. What you're able to do here, I take back to Mississippi and I say, let us tell you what we learned in Israel. Let me show you the innovation, just the simple ideas we were saying the other day, reading the book Thou Shalt Innovate, of the idea of taking a problem and getting half a dozen people in a room and say, you're not coming out until you get this solved. I was reading the chapter on the Iron Dome. I can only imagine the pressure that was on those young engineers when the entire safety of the world depended on them. And if I remember correctly, they had about 5 million shekels to start the program, which would have been about a $50 million program. So we in Mississippi have to learn to do remarkable things. We have to overachieve. And we have to show the rest of the nation and the world that, yes, what they thought was a sleepy little southern state can do remarkable things. And that's what's taken place here since 1947 in Israel, and that's what we're hoping to emulate. And my job is to bring that information back to Mississippi.
Well, it sounds like we have a lot in common.
We do.
You also talked a little bit about the midterms, and if you don't mind, I'll cut straight to the chase there. The fact that President Trump is going to be there on the eve of the Mississippi runoff later this month, is that an indication that this is a really close race?
It could be. We never take anything for granted. So this is the last Senate race because Thad Cochran retired. I appointed Senator Cindy Hyde-Smith, the first woman ever to serve in Congress from the state of Mississippi, the first ever. And so we are in a struggle with our friends in the Democratic Party. The president wants to make sure that we win this one. He is well liked in Mississippi, so he'll come down and speak in Tupelo and then on to the Mississippi Gulf Coast. But the midterms were as they normally are. Normally what happens in the midterm is that people in the United States like to balance things. So they say, we don't want to give too much power to the Republicans. The Republicans have the House of Representatives, they have the United States Senate, they have the presidency. Why don't we balance that? So they will normally vote, and particularly it uses the House of Representatives. As if you look back in history, they will lose seats. They were projected, I think, to lose about 50 to 60 seats. I think at the end of the day, and I haven't looked at the numbers, but it was 35 or 36. Sounds like a lot. But I think the president, through his sheer determination of campaigning for candidates all across the United States, was able to reduce about half of what the blue wave was going to be and increase the numbers of the United States Senate. That is just unheard of, particularly, now y'all get to watch CNN over here. And if I watch CNN, I would think the president was absolutely out of his mind. I mean, I would look at it and say, my goodness, this guy is totally out of control. He's a danger to himself and others. That's the way he is portrayed on CNN. That's not factual. It's just not the truth. If you look at the economy in the United States, we've got the highest rating for confidence in the economy in the last 17 years. We've got more people in every category working than ever before in the United States. The economy is booming. It is on fire. People have hope. Again, we're rebuilding our military. About half of the aircraft in the United States Navy that was sitting on our ships were unable to fly. We were at the fewer number of ships that we had been at since World War I. And so the president has worked hard. People realize that. I think he had a good midterm for any midterm.
Governor, you spoke of the. By the way, we get Fox News here too, so we.
Oh, good.
We're not done.
That's
just
right.
get
I get it in the hotel. Thank you, hotel.
You talked about President Trump's support of Israel and his Jewish family, and yet, if I may play devil's advocate here, as a journalist, we have seen a spike in anti-Semitism and even the worst anti-Semitic attack in American history in Pittsburgh. How do you explain that?
I think that's troubling on both extremes of the political spectrum. I think the far right, and it may be related to immigration. There's a threat of seeing immigration continue to grow in the United States and across Europe. So I think it gave that little sliver of disturbed individuals on the right an opportunity to sort of gather around a theme. And on the left, you see another disturbing trend. It seems as if they're more concerned with the rights of radical Muslims than the concerns of Israel. Now, they may say, "Oh, no, we're not like that," but look at the messages. So if both extremes on the political right and left begin to give the message that it's okay to affect violence upon Jewish people of faith, the Jewish faith, then you're going to see that happen. And so I think what the president's trying to do, what I'm trying to do being here, what we're all trying to do is say that is unacceptable. We won't stand for it. It won't be tolerated anymore. We don't need any more code words or dog whistles, whatever you want to call them, to say it's now okay. And I hope those people on the extremes realize that we just will not tolerate that type of behavior.
The Jewish community in Mississippi, I understand that it has a very rich history, and yet its numbers are dwindling.
It does, and we trace it back to the early 1800s, migration from all over the world, and it continued in a very robust and strong numbers, particularly in the Mississippi Delta, where I'm from, in the Jackson area. And we do see an aging population. As I see my Jewish friends now, maybe I'm joining them, but it seems like they're getting older, and a lot of the children are moving away. I'm not sure that that's just within the Jewish population. One of my children lives in Austin, Texas, for goodness sake. So I sound like my dad, but these young kids see these big cities, and they think New York and Miami and Austin is just delightful. And so we are losing some of the younger generation, particularly, well, not particularly, I think, in the Jewish community, but I think you could look at the Baptists and the Pentecostals, and they would tell you some of the same thing. They love to go where the bright lights and loud music.
Unfortunately, not a lot of them like to come to Israel for some reason. But I do. And I do have a friend from Mississippi I shared with you in the audience, Ari O'Sullivan, who's a journalist. There he is in the back, who immigrated, came to Israel from.
Yeah. Our Mississippi Jewish Irish friend O'Sullivan. So God bless you for being here.
We had a really nice lunch together, and one of the most interesting things I thought that you raised in your off-the-record conversation, so I'm not going to repeat it, but was looking at the bigger picture of U.S. trade, which, as you know, is very strong with Israel. But I think you're a little bit concerned about the relationship with China.
We are. We have a very robust trade, particularly in agriculture. Mississippi, at its heart, is an agribusiness state. So our agricultural products that we have been exporting around the world, China now has become an issue, taking intellectual property. It occurs across the spectrum. Continuing to build up a military reserve and expanding their military strength without a threat. There's no natural threat to China today, so we're concerned about that. The expansion and building of islands in the South China Sea, flooding the market with steel, now tires, products that are flooded into the United States that cost us jobs. So I think the president, rightfully so, is working with China. Hopefully there will be an agreement. All we ask of China is fairness, just simple fairness. And for whatever reason, they believe that they need to continue to expand their military, and to the point where now we are expanding ours to meet that global challenge. Stop it. No one wants to go to war. Y'all know that more than we do, and it's something that I learned from Israel. If I could just close with this. One of the things that I took back from Israel is I see the very dangerous neighborhood you're living in and hear and know of the threats that go on. Yet every Israeli I talk to wants peace. They just want peace. Let us just live and worship and work and grow. And that was remarkable to me, because I would think you would be very angry, and you'd want to strike back, and you could. But you just want peace. And that is a message that I relay to everyone that I talk to that really says, well, how is it over there? The most important thing to them is peace.
Well, Governor Phil Bryant, that, as you said, is a high note to end this on. So I'd like to thank you on behalf of all of us for your support, for your eloquence, and wish you a really good stay in Israel.
Thank you, sir.